So, welcome to another Clyde and Lomond Heritage podcast with myself, Paul Murdoch.
And myself, Robert Ryan.
And we're going to talk today, Robert, about Helensburgh mostly, because it's about Helensburgh memories.
Helensburgh memories, yeah. Well, to give you a wee bit of background, Paul, I noticed in 2014 that there was a site, Dumbarton Memories, which was all photos of Dumbarton and things like that. But there was nothing on Facebook for Helensburgh memories. And I thought, so just to show you, the idea was totally unoriginal, but I thought, I've got some old photos of Helensburgh, so I put them up on my own Facebook page, and I got a lot of people liking them, and I thought, yeah, there's something here. I started the group Helensburgh Memories in August 2014, and I added about 50 people that I knew from the area, and here we are. How many years later? 12 years later, and we've got over 10,000 memories.
Wow.
Memories?
Members. Probably over 10,000 memories as well.
Yes, 10,000 members. And the interesting thing is that something over 6,000 of those members look in regularly. Okay. You know, which is incredible.
I mean, nostalgia sells, as they say. You know,
it does.
It really does. And even in Spotify, I sometimes talk about nostalgia a wee bit when I'm talking about well-being and different things.
Sure.
And Spotify have nostalgia playlists.
Oh, yes.
And they're up some like 60-70% in the last 5-6 years.
Absolutely. It helps people, old folk, with their memory and all that sort of thing, people with dementia that don't remember other stuff, but they'll respond to old memories.
So the idea is that today we're going to put some pictures up kind of here, where the laptop is. We are looking at the pictures, but we'll put them on the screen. Yep. And we're just going to chat through a few.
Well, I mean, pictures is the main thing about Helensburgh Memories, but there's also other things that come up, like old characters of the town and things like that, and people with kind of anecdotes and stuff. But the main focus is photos. And here we have a magnificent photo, first of all, of the shows at Helensburgh. And I'm thinking it's a Sunday, Paul, because
glasses on for this.
Because the shows don't seem to be in use. Everybody's in their finery, so it looks as if they're perhaps going to or coming from church.
And you don't think they'd have the shows on a Sunday?
Definitely not. No. Not in the early 20th century. No, there was nothing happening on a Sunday. Right. This was...
Because that would be the peak day for...
Well, it was Presbyterian Scotland Central, wasn't it?
Yes. And speaking of which, the parish church is right behind there.
The parish church, built in the 1860s, and then, although the tower remained, the rest of the building was... converted and extended into flats.
So that tower is still visible
in the
today.
1980s,
And also the Helter Skelter is quite a nice memory, because I remember you going into a little Hessian sack. Remember you put your feet in?
That's right.
And then you kind of slid down. It was only about 2 turns or something like that.
That's right.
But it was
what a thrill.
Very exciting.
So it was probably whatever it was, a halfpenny a go probably.
But this looks like a more permanent bandstand.
That is a permanent bandstand, and that was there till the 1920s. Right. But as the motor car became more relevant to society, it was found that parking spaces were needed especially for buses for day trips to Helensburgh. So that sadly suffered and went.
We've got a wee dog in the picture as well.
The wee dog, it looks like a wee kind of Jack Russell.
It does.
I'm sure he's just jumped off the HMV advert there.
Very much like it.
But yes, the wee dog probably just wandering around Helensburgh on his own and nobody bothering him.
And it's 10 to 12.
Well, yes, that's the other thing which suggests that might be just as the church has come out. Aye. Because I don't think you're going to get people dressed as smart as that on an ordinary day.
And I love the way the police are dressed.
Aye, they look like gendarmes, don't they? That was... The Scottish police have always been separate in uniform from the rest of the UK, and of course in England we think of Dixon and Dock Green and the kind of helmet. Scottish police didn't ever have that. No. They went from this kind of gendarme style to the style we're more familiar with today.
I think actually the Scottish police force, just going off slightly rabbit hole in a way, were one of the first police force in the UK. And I think, I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure 1790s there was the River Police originally in Glasgow, and then they went into actual police force. And they had their own certain uniform, which I'll try and put a few pictures up of.
Yeah, I think the kind of Bow Street runners were, I think, the forerunner of the police in England. But that's interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
So the next one isn't actually a photo of Helensburgh; it's a photo of Rue, but it's a real capturing of life in the probably the late 19th century, early 20th century in Rue. And here we see a magnificent Clyde steamer, probably the Lucy Ashton, coming into Rue Pier, and we see behind her the Empress training ship. Now, this was a accommodation, if you like, for young guys from Glasgow, people, orphans, maybe sort of lads that had
accommodation.
Lads that had. I didn't want to call it a prison, Paul, because it wasn't that, but it was like a kind of a repository, if you like, for kids who couldn't go anywhere else. And so maybe kids that had been before the children's panel, they'd been sent to do a period of time.
Almost like a floating borstal.
Almost like a floating borstal. But it was, I mean, I don't know if you remember the idea that was floating around in the 1980s about a short, sharp shock. Well, boy, these boys had a shock. It was run with military precision. But having said that,
and it looks like something straight out the 18th century.
Yes. Well, the ship was, it was a retired naval ship, obviously. So it probably did start in the 18th century. But there was a previous training ship there called the Cumberland. But this one replaced it, the Empress training ship. And having said it was a hard life, people used to raise money for the boys and to get them a wee treat at Christmas.
Now there's a memory. I did a film about Rue Parish Church recently, a short, and I'm sure one of the graves was dedicated to some of the boys in one of these training ships that lost their lives. Quite a few of them. I think
that may have been the Cumberland, because don't quote me on this, but I have a feeling there was a fire. I have a feeling there was a fire in the Cumberland. It may be that you're thinking of, Paul. But one wee thing to add before we move on is that pier, there were people actually left for the New World from that pier in relatively small ships, not probably much bigger than the Lucy Ashton.
I mean, are we talking about the clearances here?
Oh, no. I mean, the clearances were probably a bit further back.
Well, the clearances went right on to the mid-1800s.
Yes, I know, but this is a lot later than that. Right. I think... it wouldn't be anything to do with that, but you got to remember the level of emigration to Canada and to the United States at that time. It was very high.
And I wonder, this big house here in the distance, is that Rossdew?
That's Roseneath Castle.
Right.
Yes, Roseneath Castle, which is no longer there. I think one of the towers is still there as part of Home Farm in Roseneath, but that was... Princess Alice, did she live there with the Duke of Argyll or something like that?
And whereabouts is Rue Pier exactly?
It's at the bottom of Pier Road, and now the resplendent Rue Marina is there.
Right.
Using some of the stone from Rue Pier as the kind of tide break. So before we get lost down this Rue thing, let me have a wee look at my list here, Paul. Here's a cracker. This is Helensburgh Central Station.
Okay.
Now, again, we were saying about things looking recognisable. Well, if you were to stand on that same platform in Helensburgh Station today, take away the trains, the people, and the carriage here.
It's the same.
It's the same. The glass roof is still there, but this is magnificent. Cobblestones are still there, and this little chap beside the horse and carriage there. The people who drove the horses and carriage it was a job opportunity for people of small stature. So folk, maybe 5'2". Well, I didn't want to say that, Paul. I wouldn't be so indiscreet to say that. But people 5'2" to maybe 5'6" would be ideal for the job of driving one of these carriages, because there wasn't a lot of room. And it wasn't comfortable for somebody of bigger than stature. So that wee man, he's looking very posh there with his top hat on. Here's a chap coming off the station, coming off the train, smoking his pipe. And again, this must be from the 19th century. Fantastic. And to move on in that theme, Craigendorn Station once had 5 platforms.
Wow.
So
it was a really busy place, Craigendorn,
yeah.
wasn't it? Because the ships offloaded there as well, didn't they?
Yeah, well, the steamers, it was the home of the Clyde steamers, and earlier than that, it was ships. And actually, Helensburgh missed a trick, Paul, because those and such as those at Helensburgh at the time didn't want the big kind of steamer centre in Helensburgh. They didn't think that was quite the thing. But it would, originally the idea was to have it in Helensburgh front. And imagine if they had done that, it would have been a fantastic thing. But instead, the Craigendorn at that time wasn't part of Helensburgh. It was part of the county of Dumbartonshire. So it was moved out of...
Well, the county of Dumbartonshire's moved a few times.
Yes.
Over the years, you know.
Yeah. But Helensburgh was in Dumbartonshire, but it had a town council.
Right.
And Craigendorn wasn't part of that governance. But here we see a train. It's got Bridgeton at the front, and anybody that remembers the two platforms will think, well, why is a train from Bridgeton at that side? Because surely the trains to Glasgow would have been on the other side. And what this is a train from Glasgow has just come in, and they've connected that locomotive to that to shunt it to Helensburgh, and then they disconnect the locomotive that's on there at the front, and that's the locomotive ready to go on the other track. And in fact, the people waiting there are probably waiting for this train.
Back.
Yeah, coming back. But so Craigendorn Upper had two platforms, which was just to the right of the picture. You can vaguely see some, just to the middle and the right there, you can see some railings from Craigendorn Upper. And there was the two platforms at Craigendorn. And then there was this magnificent platform which comes down to the pier, the pier platform, in other words. The track on the right of the picture is just a siding, but the track on the left of our picture here is actually the pier platform where people would disembark to get a train. But obviously in this case, they've disembarked actually at the main station, and we can see some marvellous signs of the time. I don't know if you remember Vim, but Vim was like a kind of cleaning powder.
Yeah, I remember Vim.
Yeah, Vim. So that's one thing. Here's a wee boy on the right of the platform selling matches.
Was it matches?
Yeah, probably selling matches. We've got several people here looking very businesslike, I would say. Even the ladies looking quite businesslike.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking probably Edwardian times, I would think, because of the clues we have of the dress and the adverts and things like that.
Yeah.
And of course, one of the...
I hate to say it, but you could probably put that picture into something like AI and it would tell you by the style of clothes.
Yes. Oh, I know.
The date.
I haven't done that. But
know,
actually, AI doesn't get everything right.
Oh, it doesn't get
a
lot of things right. And I'm not keen on it.
No.
But it has some...
It definitely has some uses, and it can give you clues to things, but I think you have to check what it tells you quite carefully. But just wait, because it's only in its infant stage, you know.
Yes. I've not got the flying robots yet.
No. So I'm just looking at my list here. The next photo I have, now I think that this photo we're going to see is VE Day. I think, again, let's look at the evidence here. We've got a Union flag on the left of the picture. It looks as if it's a caravan, which might be a kind of a recruiting thing, or it might be something to do with the Navy or the Army. We've got several people in the picture in naval and army uniform. There's bunting everywhere. It's obviously a time of celebration. It looks as if the shows are there, and very, very busy. Everybody about, again, all looking quite smart. The people like to get dressed up. We see the putting green, which we'll see in a future photo, and again the tower of the parish church, which is obviously a characteristic of Helensburgh front. And I do have to say that one of my fellow Helensburgh Heritage Trust trustees doesn't think that that's VE Day, but he's now passed away, but he never gave me any proper reason to think that it wasn't. So that's what we can. I deduce from that postcard that it is VE Day. Now here's another busy day in the front, and again the putting green fixtures. Features in this. I'm conscious now we're both staring at this screen rather than the camera. Hello.
I get lost looking at these pictures.
But the putting green was a magnificent and very, very busy place, as you can see. And I'm thinking that this photo is probably from the 1940s or something around there.
Okay.
Again, we have the sign saying the Granary Restaurant.
Oh, that's interesting.
And well, there used to be a granary there, a real granary that produced
so it's just
bags of wheat
in front of the church tower.
Yeah.
In the picture.
Yes, in front of the church tower. And actually, the granary building is the one that you see just above where it says restaurant.
Okay.
That granary building still there at that time, and believe it or not, the same family that owned it had a distillery which was up at Malig Mill, which is in Hermitage Park,
right.
And there was a distillery there which made whiskey,
right.
With some of the grain, obviously. Helensburgh whiskey. But it was made with grain from the granary. You can see the people just watching the putting. I mean, spectator sport, and all the shop awnings are out. So obviously a nice sunny day there. Let's go to Cinquar Street now. So this is Cinquar Street, the main street, the main kind of perpendicular street in Helensburgh, and from the 1960s, a Belisha beacon.
Yeah, I remember Belisha beacons.
Only people about our age or maybe 10 years younger will know them as that.
Why were they called Belisha beacons?
I think probably the guy that designed
Mr.
them.
Belisha.
Mr. Belisha, I would think. So here we can see 1960s, a Triumph Herald here stopped at the lights. McVicker's, which was a huge clothes shop. Initially it had been a music shop, Bartram's, but...
Is that right?
Aye, but McVicker's... and the great slogan was McVickers for knickers.
Yeah, we had a place in Alexandria, I think it's called Millie Molly Mandy's, and that's where you got your knickers, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not personally, but moving on.
So anyway, as you can see the gable end of the building here, and then there's a gap, and that gap was Spy's Coal Yard. And it was never going to remain a coal yard in a high street, well, not a high street, but in a busy shopping street for long. And in I think I'm right in saying 1966 or 1967, Helensburgh got its first supermarket.
W.M. Lowe.
W.M. Lowe. Now still a supermarket, but under the Tesco Express kind of logo. Now at this time, this was an enormous shop. We couldn't believe it when, how modern was this? I think the Helensburgh Advertiser reported that it was a £35,000 development by William Lowe's, who were a supermarket company from
But this particular
Dundee.
picture we think is after
I think this one's from kind of mid-70s because I think that Leyland truck has an N registration.
And I think it says 26 pence
and
10 pence.
Yeah, it's got prices, but it would still frighten you, I would imagine, the how cheap everything was. We can't zoom in just enough to see.
I mean, everything's relative to wages and stuff.
I'm looking
at pram there as well.
A wee pram left outside, and there's a tail end of either a Hillman Minx or a Humber Scepter, I would say.
Our first, I think I'm right in saying, people correct me if I'm wrong, the first supermarket in the Vale was Galbraith's. And that was...
we had a Galbraith's.
Did you have a Galbraith as well?
Directly opposite William Lowe's was Galbraith's, and they had at that time, before William Lowe's, that was the biggest shop in Helensburgh. Right. The nearest thing we had to a supermarket.
Maybe it wasn't a supermarket, but it was getting that way.
Right. But this was considered at the time a vast shop. William Lowe's, and everybody in Helensburgh, I ended up doing their shopping there, and I'm sure the small grocer shops.
Kind of a shame in a way, because the characters totally.
Little individual grocers like William Dow's and Sons, which had been there for generations.
We had Peter Weir's and the Kitten Dairy in Alexandria.
Yeah.
Which were, you walked in, you get your wee bag of biscuits.
That's right.
You could cut the cheese.
Cut the butter and cut the cheese and personal service. And often these shops,
and the aprons on
boys on bikes doing deliveries, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of the Asda vans and the Tesco vans now delivering people's shopping, and it's coming in 5 or 6 massive boxes, you know. But there we are. So that was the first supermarket. So there's another shop very famous in Helensburgh. And in many other, just about every other town of any reasonable size, F.W. Woolworth and Co.
F.W. Right.
That was a staple of Helensburgh life until 2008, I think.
I think the last one, certainly, maybe Dumbarton had a Woolworths until fairly recently.
Well, yeah, it was until they went bust.
Right.
In 2008, right. The company filed for liquidation.
Because you were in the same street as Woolworths.
Yes, that's right. My shop in Dumbarton was in the same.
And this building here is exactly the same.
Yeah, they were all in kind of Art Deco style buildings. The Dumbarton one's the same if you look at it.
No, I'm talking about this building next to it.
Oh, that was the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Right.
Yes. Just down from Woolworths, we had the donkey rides.
Oh wow! Yeah, I remember them.
I mean, this was day trippers from Glasgow, or if I pestered my mother enough, I had a wee shot in the donkeys. I remember the donkey field, which was just down from where we stayed in Helensburgh, where Barney and the donkeys were to be seen.
Is it just me? Does the beach look bigger then than it does now?
No.
It must be the same, surely. But
it's
it just
same.
seemed to more. It must be speeding.
Because you were wee at the time.
Because it looked massive. It's like about that size.
So I wonder if you ever visited Helensburgh outdoor pool.
I certainly did. I was taught to swim there. My dad
I had as we were saying at the start before we came on camera, I had a season ticket most years for Helensburgh
to get totally frozen every time you went.
Well, actually we didn't bother about the frozen because we were swimming in Glenfruin as well.
But at least you didn't have to worry about the roof.
Well, no, that's true. We didn't worry. There was no roof to blow off. You can see the changing rooms there, and you can see the people enjoying the cold water swimming. We were hardy guys in Helensburgh, Paul. We had 2 spaces on the season ticket. You could go morning and afternoon,
really?
And because we'd run out of swimming time when we came out in the afternoon, sometimes we would cycle up to Glenfruin and swim at Craig's Pool or Potts Pool. So if you thought that the Helensburgh swimming pool was cold,
Glenfruin.
Well, Glenfruin was much.
And there was that one rock you could dive off of. The corner.
Yeah, indeed. So quickly showing a few photos of the beach that you just referred to, or the shore is obviously
maybe just looks cleaner.
Yeah, I think that's maybe as you remember it, Paul.
It is.
That look, the shop still had the awnings there, but that looks a wee bit more modern. So I think that's maybe 60s, possibly early 70s.
And they've got the putting green. I remember that's fairly recent.
That's it. And the putting green, and then we see the job centre here, so we can say that that this one had moved on. And I can actually tell you, I know 2 of the people in this photo, one of them here standing. No, that's Peter Gallagher.
Is it?
Yes, Peter Gallagher. Peter worked at the old outdoor pool, and then he worked in the new pool with his then girlfriend, now wife, Mary McCready. And one of these girls, I'm pretty sure, is one of the daughters of Craig M. Jeffrey, who or Ronnie Jeffrey, who owned the Helensburgh Advertiser. So it might be Claire, it might be Susan. I can't remember which one it was, but there's a wee bit of provenance for the photo.
And of course, there's the Henry Bell Monument.
The Henry Bell Monument, built in 1872. I wonder if we've got time to show you a picture of the Waverley, have we?
Just one, I think. Yeah. We'll come back to this because there's so many pictures here.
Yeah. Well, maybe what about a part 2 next week?
Well, yeah. Maybe I thought we'll maybe do Vale Memories next week.
And then we'll come back to it
at some point.
Well, I know we've got the rights to this photo. Nearly all the photos I've shown you, we have got the rights to, because they're all more than 50 years old, and they're postcards, and really there's not much to do with copyright. But this one I'm quite proud of. I didn't even take it with a a proper camera. It was a wee Kodak kind of Instamatic thing.
Right.
And it had developed enough to have an SD card in it. Yeah. And this is the Waverley coming to Helensburgh. You can just see a few slats of the pier there. And she was coming in 22nd of June 2005 for the summer cruise, which was always a good bargain to take the family on. Okay. So I took my wife and my 2 daughters joined me that night for a cruise.
I've never been there yet.
Well, never been in the Waverley?
No.
Wow. Well, the summer cruise was great. It used to sail up to Arica, which was the original route for the Waverley. Okay. And that's what we did that night. We went up to Loch Long and Loch Gilphead and had a look at the Arica as well. Okay.
Well, listen, it's been lovely to look at these old pictures.
Loch Goilhead, my apologies.
Yes. Gilphead's a bit further away.
Yes.
Aye, so listen, thanks for going through these, Robert. Yeah, I mean, I was born in Braeholme in Helensburgh. Grew up in the Vale, but always was back and forward with the mum and dad.
I would have been born in Braeholme, but the doctor did a homer for me.
Oh, did he?
Right. I was born in Roseneath Drive.
Right. There's a lot of people from Alexandria born in Braeholme.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll come back to more of these pictures at some future date. Until next time, thanks for watching and listening. Mainly listening, but we'll put the pictures up. And until next time, see you again.
Thank you. Bye.